Welcome to For the Record. I'm Janelle Hall. Today we're taking a look at some updates on recent subjects we put in the spotlight on episodes of For the Record. You'll recall back in May, For the Record took an in-depth look at female and minority-owned businesses here in the Pittsburgh area. And this morning we're learning more about a new study looking at diverse businesses in the region and how opportunities can be created for the business owners. Pittsburgh Mayor Ed Gainey's Deputy Chief of Staff Felicity Williams breaks it down for us. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Absolutely, happy to be here.
Yeah, for people who aren't familiar with this study, let's talk a little bit about what it is and why the city felt that it was needed.
Absolutely. So a disparity study really looks at, first and foremost, what are the availability of diverse businesses in our region that are ready and able to do business with any of the participating entities. So in this case, there are 7 public partners who are participating in this process. From there, it also looks at our systems, our process, to see if there are any barriers, any bias, or any discrimination that is preventing those businesses from being able to work with us as public partners.
Let's get right down to the detail of which specific groups you think may be not included in some consideration for positions and how this all came to be.
Absolutely. So most of us as public partners already have some participation programs for minority business enterprises, women business enterprises, LGBTQ+. Some of us do, like the city of Pittsburgh does, veteran-owned, and as well as veteran-owned businesses. This study, really, the goal of it is to look at those existing programs, our existing participation goals, and see if we're still on track, if there's any tweaks that need to be changed. Is that still the current status where we are as a region and as public partners? And so what makes this even critical about the timing now is that we haven't had one in over 20 years. And so we're looking at and using data to support our programs and to support our policies and process literally from 1996 to 1998. So it's pretty old.
Has it already been 20 years since 1996?
It's been over 20 years.
Over 20 years, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so for someone who may not be familiar with this study and they say, well, why is this needed? Talk a little bit about that, please.
First and foremost, it's needed by city code. So we are actually required to do one every 5 years. In addition, it's really important for these types of programs, the legal standard that they are held to is a requirement to have this sort of evidence, this sort of current data to continue to support those programs. We need to understand, as we all know, a lot of things change in 20 to 30 years. How have things changed, and how should our programs change to reflect that as well?
Can you think of some specific examples or stories that you've heard or the mayor has heard about people, business owners within those groups that feel like they haven't always had the attention that they believe they deserve?
Absolutely. I think one can really be attributed to a new process that we have started. So I want to take a step back just for a second. This disparity study is part of a larger effort that we have as a city to really modernize our procurement systems and process. And so in doing that, one of the things we did was launch a new pre-bid policy, requiring and standardizing pre-bid meetings where people get an opportunity to learn about the procurement opportunities with us as a city, opportunities that they can do business with us. In doing that, we heard directly from businesses, has the city always done these? They had no idea that these were occurring. And so really just opening up access to opportunities has been a critical first step for us to take.
So when you, can you give some specific examples of projects in the city to maybe help someone at home go, wait, that might apply to me, I should consider that?
Absolutely. So we as public partners procure or buy a lot of goods and services. Think about all of the projects happening in your neighborhood, construction projects, transportation projects, supplies, consulting services, things that we buy. We have 3 instances actually in the last year in which we as an administration have, for the first time ever, had 3 Black-owned businesses be selected as primes on these city contracts. We track our MWDBE participation already, and so we are exceeding in some places our goals, and we're falling short in others. And that's why we think this study is going to be able to help us really, pull back those layers of the onion and really understand where we can do better, where our goals should be changed, and where we have the opportunities to grow as a region together.
Why do you think in general that this is needed? Where has the city or the region lacked, and what do you think is the root cause of it?
Absolutely. So what we've been able to look at already is that a lot of subcontracting opportunities, so not the direct business that is contract with us, but the people who they subcontract with to support them completing the job. We're doing pretty well in terms of participation there. Again, sometimes we hit our goals, sometimes we don't. Where we are really lacking as a region is for these diverse businesses to be the prime vendor on contracts. We're seeing very stark disparities there, where there is not a lot of opportunity for minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and LGBTQ plus owned businesses to be the prime vendor.
So obviously you work with the city, but the focus is regional. So I'm curious why. And for people at home maybe wondering who all's involved here, we have City of Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, the Housing Authority, the Urban Redevelopment Authority, Parking Authority, Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority, PWSA, and the Stadium Authority. Why does the city believe that it's important for this to be a regional concept?
Absolutely. So looking at the region as a whole gives us a better picture of what the marketplace looks like and what the opportunities are there for everyone. It is, as you can imagine, a struggle for diverse and small businesses who are looking to do work with us to have different systems, policies, and process for every single different entity within the region. And so if we are able to, one, share in the cost, share in the analysis that helps us improve our systems and policies and our programs together as public entities, that is going to advance and help grow our region.
What's the overall mission? Why is it important to include all of these groups?
So it's important for us as public entities to not be using public tax dollars in any discriminatory way. And so that includes who and how we do business with. And so for us as public entities, this is really part of our goal to ensure the use of a good use of taxpayers' dollars when we are buying goods and services.
And so for someone who may be sitting at home going, what's the checks and balances? Will one group automatically get preference over another? How do you say, what's your response to that to make sure it feels like an even playing field for everyone?
Absolutely. So this process is not to give any one preference over the other. It really is about how we even the playing field for everyone. So there are certain businesses and groups of people who have experienced historic disadvantage and still experience that today. And so the idea is to remove any forms of discrimination or bias that prevent them from being able to operate on that even playing field with us as public partners.
So let's say you have these projects going on in the city and you talk about some of the subcontractors. How do these businesses find these different organizations that you've maybe learned more about through this study?
Absolutely. So that's one of the things that we actually started to do a little bit earlier. I mentioned that we launched a new pre-bid policy for us as the city of Pittsburgh. And so one of the goals of that policy is also to not just share information about projects, but also to have a matching opportunity so that businesses who are both considering bidding as prime or businesses who may not be quite ready for a prime opportunity, but are still interested and able to participate on contracts are able to meet those prime vendors and do some of that matching. We also have an Office of Business Diversity, as do many of our public partners, who will work with prime vendors to match them and identify diverse businesses that they can work with to meet our participation goals.
Overall, let's just talk about the importance of economic growth in the city and in the region.
Absolutely. So the city of Pittsburgh and public partners really represent only a slice of the economic opportunity in our region. However, again, as public stewards, as leaders in our region, we recognize how important it is that we really take these first steps and demonstrate economic inclusion policies for our region. If we demonstrate that we can do it as public partners, our goal is for our corporate partners and those out in the rest of the marketplace to adopt these sorts of policies and programs, learn from what we're doing, and then spread that as it grows throughout the region.
You mentioned that a type of study like this hasn't been done in more than 20 years. With this new information that you're gathering, what's your hope now for the city for now and in 20 plus years as a result of this?
Yes, so as you talked about, why is economic opportunity and economic growth so important for our region? First, we want to retain people here. One of the ways that we can retain people are through these economic opportunities, through these business opportunities. Another is to attract people to this region. We want people to see that this is a vibrant region. We want to see themselves represented here. And so that is another way in which we are trying to ensure that we bring people here. Our hope is that really is not just the completion of the study. The study is really just the foundation that gives us to take action and to really implement on the policies and recommendations that come out of the study. And so in the next 20 to 30 years, we hope to see our region grow. We hope to see more diverse business participation. We hope to be a place in which everyone really feels that they have an opportunity here to thrive.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Coming up, another For the Record follow-up.
Whether or not they change votes, I don't know and I don't care. The fact is, they were in our systems in all 50 states. That should concern people.
Focusing on election hacking, we go to the experts to get the insight on the concerns ahead of voters heading to the polls in November. And if you're looking to catch up on recent episodes of For the Record, from our look at food insecurity in the Pittsburgh region to our exclusive interview with Helen Comparator, the widow of the man who was shot and killed at the rally for former President Donald Trump in Butler County over the summer. You can now watch past episodes right now by clicking on For the Record. That tab is on WTAE.com and the WTAE app. We're back right after this.